So Susie, we're going to start with you. And so you've been an integral part of what I always refer to as my tribe for many years. And not only because you're a great organizer, but your approach has always been built on the foundation of the emotional ties that people have to their items. So can you talk a little bit about how your background in social work prepared you for what you do today, and how it might differ from other organizers, and even maybe how you would change your approach based on the client as well?
Sure, thank you. So you get a 2-for-1 with me, social worker and professional organizer. So the field really interested me organizing because in my social work background, I was an administrator and a frontline social worker. So I worked with people, hands-on, every day. Really loved being around people and having that interaction. So I decided that professional organizing was something that seemed like a good fit for me. And boy, did I ever find out. I didn't know there was a whole niche, even in the professional organizing field, of what's called chronic disorganization. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So, but I use these social work skills to work with my clients one-on-one. It's not uncommon my clients will be crying sometimes, with the emotional ties to items. So that's part of what I do. Is just work with you one-on-one to talk through those emotions and just kind of decide what's important and what's not.
Great. I know. As a realtor as well, there are times I'm wearing my counselor hat, my cleaning lady hat, my yard person hat. It really differs by the day. So now you work with people who are staying in their homes just as often, or probably more so, than you work with people who are moving. So can you walk us through what happens when you initially meet with a client who simply wants to live more freely in their current home?
Yeah, so what I typically do is I do what's called a walkthrough. And we walk around the spaces and I make notes and we develop what's called a plan of action. That's the social worker in me, where we come up and we decide what things are going to be a priority, what's not a priority, how we need to tackle this. And as we're walking through, we're just really, deciding what's really important in those spaces. And then, maybe a big space like a garage. It could be an outbuilding. That's actually why I'm dressed like this today, because this is my work outfit. I'm going to be working in a shed when I get done here. So, we'll be. I organize all out spaces and indoor spaces. So, but once we get done with that walkthrough, we sit down. Like I said, we prioritize. We decide, how would you like me to come help you? So it's really deciding, do you need my help just to kind of plan it out on how to make this move happen, or to downsize and make it so that your place is okay for you to stay, so it's healthy, it's safe, you can get around easy. Maybe you have really tall cabinets and shelves that we need to problem solve on how to handle those spaces better so you can reach things. So we just really walk through that plan, and then I come however much you need me to. Like Laura said, sometimes it can be 5 hours where you just need me to help you with a plan. Sometimes it's 250 hours I'm working to help downsize somebody so that they can stay in their home.
Now, this is an extra question. This wasn't on the list, but I just kind of thought of it. Do you find that many of these people, especially in larger homes that have lived there for a while, what portion of their homes do they generally actually live in?
Usually your kitchen, your bathroom, and your living space. And sometimes your living space and your kitchen are all together too. And so most people are kind of in, and of course you got to go to sleep. So unless you sleep in your chair, your recliner, but you use your bedroom. But a lot of space most people don't use. Extra bedrooms, extra bathrooms, whole floors. People don't use them.
It's not uncommon for me to meet with people who have not been in their lower level in years. Sometimes they have mobility issues And maybe they've been down there once or twice, but literally they do not ever go in their lower level, and it might be full. So, and that's, that is pretty typical. As we age, you have all the things that you need, nice, close by, and convenient, and the things that we don't use very often. And sometimes as you entertain less, and maybe decorate less and things like that, those things start to become even, less important as time goes on. So for any person who has a family member or even themselves who really, really struggles to let things go, we know that having too many items can actually not only be inconvenient and uncomfortable, but they can definitely become a safety hazard. So what are some of the areas that you would concentrate on for seniors who are looking to safely age in place, especially for those who really, really struggle with the stuff?
Yeah, so I actually brought a prop. This is what I carry around with me all the time, and this is from the Institute for Challenging Disorganization, which is an organization that I belong to, that a lot of mental health professionals belong to, but it has a clutter hoarding scale. So it goes from clutter all the way up to hoarding, so level 1 through 5. So a 1 is like most people's homes where you may have a little clutter here and there, and it works its way all the way up to a level 5, which would be what you see on the TV show Hoarders, where you can't walk in the door, you're climbing over things, there's no access to windows and doors, that kind of thing. So when I'm working with somebody, I'm looking at this scale to see where they fall in that. So I will look at their appliances. Are all the appliances working? Do they have access to their front door, their back door to get in and out? What do the stairs look like? Are there stuff piled on the stairs, because when you're going to want to go down the stairs, but you can't necessarily go up and down the stairs a lot. Maybe you have some mobility issues. You tend to step stuff at the top of the stairs or on the stairs, and it doesn't necessarily go down, but then that can become a hazard. So I'm looking at that. I'm looking at, are you using your bed? Are you able to get access to laying down and sleeping? I'm looking at to see, how are your pets taken care of? Are they having issues, with maybe you're not able to take care of them as much as what you used to, or, change the litter box and all of those kind of things. And the good thing is, being a social worker, I have access to different resources that are out there. So like AARP, looking at your home, as far as what, how you can age in place there. There's Area Agency on Aging that I refer clients to if they need other supports in place. So I look at all of that holistically with the clients.
Do you ever find that clients are surprised at where they fall on your scale? Does there ever seem to be an aha moment where they're like, oh, it's not so bad, and then all of a sudden they're like, uh-oh, I'm at level 4?
Most times it's actually people are like, mine's the worst you have ever seen, right? And I'm like, no, don't worry about it. I say, let's look at the scale and kind of see where you're at and what things we need to do to make it a healthy and safe place for you to stay.
Notice we said healthy and safe and not perfect and immaculate, right?
There's no such thing as perfect.
Right.
No such thing.
Amen, sister. So most of us all tend to just keep way more than we need. What really distinguishes a person who is dealing with the typical everyday clutter and they just need some, they need some encouragement, they need help with that organizing, from one who could really, really use the help of a trained professional and who might be putting themselves at risk? Do you find that there are just some characteristics, or, what are the main differences?
Yeah, so there are big differences. So I mentioned chronic disorganization before. There's what's called chronic disorganization and situational disorganization. So situational is really just like you've had something happen in your life to where things have kind of come off the rails. Maybe you got a new medical diagnosis, so things, you're not able to move things around like you used to. Maybe you're taking care of a new grandchild in your home, so that's kind of uprooting things, but it's more temporary kind of things. Chronic disorganization is more where it's something that you've struggled with for a long time. So it can be things like attention deficit disorder. You could have anxiety, depression, physical challenges that are chronic can also be in that realm too. Hoarding tendencies or hoarding behaviors also fall into that category. So a lot of times I'll take a look at that with clients to see where they fall. Is it more of a chronic thing where it's been a lifelong try to have self-help thing? They've had, I can't tell you how many times I go in and I see all kinds of organizing books and the podcasts and everything else, and they say, have you heard of the home edit team, and have you seen all that? And I'm like, yes. Let's talk about you and see how it necessarily impacts you, the disorganization piece. So there's two different pots that we look at, and I try to figure out where you fall in that.
So do you have any stories where you've literally been called into what I would call emergency situations with clients who may need to return home after a hospital stay, or even children who have called because of severe concern over their parents and things like that?
I can think of a couple examples. One is there's an older lady I was working with. She had hoarding disorder. She had to go in for a knee replacement, and it had to happen soon. We realized that for her to come back home, we needed to get the pathways more clear than ever. And so I had maybe 24 hours to turn it around, to go in there. And her family was ecstatic because they hadn't seen it like that in years. But I had to work with her ongoing after that as well. But I had to hurry up and get that ready to go. Another situation was a lady needed to move into a senior community pretty quickly. She had a lot of mental illness issues, and she was decompensating. She was really regressing pretty quickly, and so we had to go in. I had to get a team of organizers to work with me, and we had to clear it out pretty quickly as well. I had to use a lot of resources to try to get that done, and the family member was from out of state. So it happens. It happens where you have to do it really fast.
Yeah.
It's not the best scenario. I really encourage you to start downsizing early.
Well, one thing I find on that, so that situation where a senior, for whatever reason, has to move due to a change in health where they really don't want to, they haven't prepared for it, it's literally like a double whammy. It is like an additional death to them that they then are losing their home, not losing, but having to transition out of their home, and they're also then having to give up their stuff at the same time and make those, they're not even really making those decisions, they're simply having to leave it. And it is absolutely excruciating for them. I mean, it just makes it so much harder and so much worse. So I know that it can be so challenging when we have to pay for the assistance of a professional. I mean, I find this in my own home, whether it's cleaning or windows or things that I used to always do myself. And as I get older and busier, and I'm like, I just got to pay for it. And I'm so cheap, it's really hard to pay for it. But sometimes, what would you tell someone in terms of giving the people in our audience permission to pay for the help of any of you on this panel, no differently than you would give yourselves permission to go to the doctor when you're sick?
So anytime anybody calls me to ask about services or resources, I'll say, first thing, congratulations, you have made a great step forward because you're asking for help. A lot of people won't do that. Now, I look at everybody's situation holistically, like I said. So it may be where you need a professional because family lives out of state. They cannot come to help you do it. Maybe they're in town, but maybe, like Laura said, they work a full-time job. They can't quite get there. So you need somebody that knows the resources out there, has the ability to do the work, can help you if you are having those emotional ties to items, and help you just dive deeper into that. Why exactly do I feel like I need to hold on to this item? Does it serve me, or am I serving it? So.
Yeah, because even paying for services, what I find, like right now, the real estate market's been strong for many, many years now. And so if you've lived in your home for a while, I guarantee it's appreciated a lot. And there's a lot of value in your home. But if it's filled with stuff, it often leads to deferred maintenance because you can't even necessarily get to all the areas. And so the idea of paying for services is really an investment financially in your house if you are able to live there for a longer amount of years because it's safe and your home's worth more when it's clean and easily accessible. So it really is a win-win all the way around. So I'm giving you guys permission. Okay.